Hey, what's up guys? Come back to TK here. In this video, I want to give my pick for this upcoming title fight between the champion Brandon Moreno and Alexandre Pantoja. So this is the second time these two guys are fighting. Let's get started. If you look at the records of these two fighters, starting with the champion, so Brandon Moreno has 29 fights. He's won 21 of his 29 fights and lost 6. If we take a look at his 21 wins, he has won 5 fights via knockout, 11 via submission, and another 5 via decision. If we talk about his 6 losses, all of them are via decision, and he also has 2 draws on his record. Now let's take a look at Alexandre Pantoja. He has 30 fights, very similar to Brandon Moreno's 29 fights, and he's won 25, lost 5. If we take a look at his 25 wins, he's won 8 fights via knockout, 10 via submission, and 7 via decision. So just like Brandon Moreno, he also has most of his wins coming by submission. And if we talk about his 5 losses, all of them have come via decision. This is similar to Moreno as well. Both of these guys have never been finished as a pro. Now let's take a look at the physical and the career statistics of these two fighters. Starting with the height, it is 5 feet 7 for Brandon Moreno and 5 feet 5 for Alexandre Pantoja. So Moreno will have a 2-inch height advantage. Weight is even at 125 pounds for both these guys. Reach is 70 inches for Moreno and 67 inches for Pantoja. So a 3-inch reach advantage goes to Moreno. Stance is orthodox for both these fighters, and if we talk about the age, Moreno is the younger fighter by about 3 years, and if we talk about Pantoja, he is around 33 years old. I believe that is the prime for most of these UFC fighters, 32, 33 years old. Now let's take a look at the career stats, starting with the strikes landed per minute. So the strikes landed per minute signifies the number of significant strikes that you land on your opponent per minute on average. This is 3.55 for Moreno and it is 4.25 for Pantoja. So Pantoja is landing a lot more strikes on his opponents and he will have an advantage here. Now let's take a look at the striking accuracy. It is 40% for Moreno, whereas it is 48% for Pantoja. So again, the advantage here goes to Pantoja. He is more accurate with his strikes. Now let's take a look at the strikes absorbed per minute. So this is the opposite of strikes landed per minute. This signifies the number of significant strikes that you absorb from your opponent per minute. This is 3.19 for Brandon Moreno and it is 3.38 for Pantoja. So in this case, you want this number to be as low as possible because you are getting hit less. And here the advantage goes to Brandon Moreno because he is getting hit less than Alexandre Pantoja. Next up, we have the striking defense, 56% for Moreno and 54% for Pantoja. So very even between both these guys, but a very slight advantage goes to Moreno. Overall, in the striking department, the two metrics, which is strikes landed per minute and striking accuracy, which signifies the offensive striking part, in those Alexandre Pantoja is better. However, if you talk about the defense part, so the strikes absorbed per minute and the striking defense, that is slightly better for Brandon Moreno. Now let's take a look at the wrestling, grappling and BJJ statistics. First up, we have the takedown average. So this is 1.8 for Brandon Moreno and it is 1.37 for Pantoja. So the advantage here clearly goes to Brandon Moreno. Takedown accuracy is 45% for Moreno and it is 40% for Pantoja. So both these guys are pretty even, but a slight advantage goes to Moreno. Takedown defense is 67% for Moreno and it is also 67% for Pantoja. So both these guys are even in the takedown defense department. Submission average is 0.6 for Moreno and it is 1.2 for Pantoja. So Pantoja is really double. He is having double the submission average of Brandon Moreno. He will have an advantage here. Overall, it's a very even fight. Both these guys have very similar records. They've never been finished. All their losses are via decision. And if you talk about their wins, most of their wins have come via submission. However, the submission average of Pantoja is higher, but the wrestling, takedown average, takedown accuracy of Moreno is better. In the striking part, the offensive striking, Pantoja is doing better, and in the defensive striking, Moreno is better. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by position. So if we talk about Brandon Moreno, 84% of all his strikes are from the standing position, 5% from the clinch, and 11% on the ground. If we talk about Pantoja, 81% of all his strikes are in the standing position, 12% in the clinch, and 7% on the ground. So both these guys have very similar, but in the clinch, Pantoja is landing more strikes, and on the ground, Moreno is landing more strikes relatively. Now let's take a look at the significant strikes by target. So 75% of all the strikes that Moreno throws are to the head, 15% to the body, and 10% to the leg. If we talk about Pantoja, so 63% of all his strikes are to the head, 22% to the body. This is higher than Moreno, and 16% to the leg. So he is using a lot of variety in his strikes. He is not just head hunting. If we look at Moreno, mostly he is head hunting and not really kicking the legs, whereas I believe that Pantoja is using a lot of body and leg kicks. Now let's take a look at the previous performances of these two guys, starting with the champion Brandon Moreno. So Moreno in his last fight beat Davison Figueiredo via TKO doctor stoppage. This stoppage came in the third round, and this fight happened in January of this year. This was the fourth time that these two guys fought each other. Before that, he beat Kai Kara France via TKO, body kick, and punches. This happened in the third round, and this fight took place in July of last year. So Moreno has been active. He has fought in January of this year, and now he's fighting after a break of about 5 to 6 months. Before that, he lost to Davison Figueiredo by unanimous decision. This happened in January of last year. It was a 5-round fight. Before that was his second fight with Figueiredo, where he won via rear naked choke in the third round. And before that was his first fight with Figgy, where it was a draw. A lot of people think Figgy should have won this fight, and this fight happened in December of 2020. It was a 5-round fight. Before that, Brandon Moreno beat Brandon Royal via TKO in the first round. He beat Jussier Formega via unanimous decision. He beat Kai Kara France, unanimous decision. And before that, he had a draw against Askar Askarov. A lot of people think Brandon Moreno should have won this fight. And before that, he beat Michael Perez via TKO punches in the fourth round. So this man has fought at the top level for quite a while now. Now let's take a look at Alexandre Pantoja's previous fights. So in his last fight, he beat Alex Perez via submission, neck crank, and this was in the first round itself. However, this fight happened in July of last year, so he is taking close to a year off and now coming back to fight Brandon Moreno for the title. Before that, he beat Brandon Royal via rear naked choke. This was in the second round, and this fight happened in August of 2021. So he's taking a lot of breaks between his fights, almost a year. Before that, he beat Manel Cape via unanimous decision in February of 2021. This was a 3-round fight. And before that, he lost to Askar Askarov via unanimous decision. And if you look at here, you'll find Askarov, and this was a split decision, but a lot of people think Moreno should have won this fight. Before that, Alexandre Pantoja beat Matt Schnell via knockout in the very first round. This fight happened in December of 2019. So he's not been really active lately. And before that, he lost to Davison Figueiredo via unanimous decision in July of 2019. This was a 3-round fight. And before that, he TKO'd Wilson Reyes in the first round and finished Ulka Sasaki via rear naked choke also in the first round. He beat Brandon Moreno via decision, and this was a unanimous win for him in a 3-round fight. This happened back in May of 2018. So both these guys are fighting for the second time. The first fight Alexandre Pantoja beat Brandon Moreno. This fight happened in 2018. A lot of things have changed since then, but keep in mind that this victory is still haunting, I believe, Brandon Moreno, and this will give confidence to Alexandre Pantoja. And before that, he lost to Dustin Ortiz by unanimous decision. This fight happened in January of 2018. It was a 3-round fight. Overall, if we look at the stats of these two guys, it is very close in the striking department. The wrestling of Brandon Moreno is better, but Alexandre Pantoja's submission skills are better than that of Brandon Moreno, so it's again levels out. I believe this is a very close fight. It is almost a 50-50 fight. However, if I have to pick a winner of this fight, I think I'll go for the upset. I'll pick Alexandre Pantoja. However, I can see why people are picking Brandon Moreno. It is a very close fight. I just believe that Alexandre Pantoja is taking a lot of time off between his fights, and I think he has been training really seriously. Both of these guys have fought each other 5 years back, 6 years back, and Alexandre was the winner. I think that confidence added with the fact that he has better offensive striking, I think he can get it done. I believe he can pull off the upset. I'm picking Alexandre to win this fight and dethrone the champion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.